One kick of the ball by Didier Drogba. Yeah, it's the greatest night in Chelsea history. Champions of Europe at last.
All right. Here we go back again to the other side of the coin. And look at it. Look at this, guys. We've got the gang back. I'm pretty sure you guys would have seen this gang not that long ago, but we've had to sort of take a break in between. The boys had some exams. Exams comes first, of course, before everything else. But we've got the band back together, and we've got a special guest. And it's none other than one of the most charismatic football Twitter personalities, Conn. I know he can be controversial at times, but at the end of the day, he does everything respectfully. And I'm absolutely delighted to have, to kickstart this particular gang again. And it's awesome to have Conn in the show. First of all, Conn, how you doing?
Thank you for the lovely intro. I appreciate it. I'm doing good, thanks. A little tired, but I'm all right.
Look, man, I'm really, really sorry. I've got to get this out of the way before everyone starts thinking what's going on. Look, it's 9:30 a.m. in the morning in UK, and I've got Conn out of the bed to do this. So first of all, sorry about that, my man, but thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
Massive pleasure for getting me on. I appreciate it.
Nice, man. But first, quickly as well, with my boys, Amir and Kunal, they're back. First of all, Amir, how you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I think I appeared in a video with Nishal probably on your channel quite a long back. So I think, yeah, it's great to be back.
Nice, man. And Kunal, how you doing?
Cheers, man. It's great to be back. Of course, the circumstances could have been a bit more pleasant, I guess. But once again, amazing to be back with the squad at least.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Let's get this show started. This is where all the, all our followers and all our, all the Chelsea fans out there will be, interested to hear what's going on and probably want to hear exactly what Conn has to say. I think in recent times, Conn's got a bit of heat, probably unnecessarily as well. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to try and, understand his point of view and also understand our point of view within the whole situation as well. So let's get this started. First of all, Conn, look, I don't want to spend too much time about our shambolic performance. Is probably an understatement against Man City. I think at the end of the day, it was, men versus kids, not even boys, it was kids. So I don't want to dwell too mumuch about that. I want to talk about the bigger picture with you, Conn. So first of all, what I want to talk to you about is, everyone talks about the whole, the 17-match unbeaten run. Everyone talks about that. How did we go from, having that particular run where we were thinking about being title contenders, everyone was just so excited about it. So obviously now with the situation that we're in, I think it's 1 win out of 5, but overall in all competition, I think it's about 1 win in 7. So what I want to ask you, first of all, Conn, from your opinion, what has changed? What has sort of you've noticed over the last few games that has drastically changed in your opinion, which has sort of made you really, really concerned about the current situation?
So with the unbeaten run, it kind of reminds me of a few seasons back when United had one, but it was mostly draws. And it kind of has that same feel to it, like it was a bit overrated. And of course, we was getting all excited about it because it's a new season, new signings, Lampard. So all of us are going to get behind that. And then when we played United and there was no real ambition there to try and win that game, there was a bit of doubt in my head then thinking, all right, with the squad we've got and this kind of performance, I'm a bit disappointed with it. The Tottenham one, I think we actually played that well. I think if we start Giroud, we win that game. So no negativity towards Frank there. But the real doubt for me was Everton. And it wasn't because we lost the game, because I'm more one who will judge it by performance than the result. And the fact that Everton had 4 centre-backs playing that day and our main attack was crossing it into the box, that was a massive warning sign because they've got 4 centre-halves. And I believe one of them is one of the tallest players in the Prem.
Yerry Mina,
Yerry Mina.
Yerry Mina, yeah.
So you top Mina with 3 other centre-backs and our main source of attack is crossing it. And in that game, we didn't really see anything change from Lampard. He was there, arms folded, didn't really know what to do. And then that progressed to the Wolves game, where he was kind of doing the same thing. And then West Ham was a bit of a blip. I don't think that was a 3-0 game. I think everyone would agree. I
100%
think,
agree.
yeah, I thought that was more of a 1-0 snatch and grab sort of job, but we got 3 goals. And then Arsenal. And considering how poor we was performing, you'd think for a London derby, Chelsea would be up for it. And it just seems like whenever this Chelsea side's under pressure and the pressure's on them, they just can't handle it. Frank doesn't seem to be able to handle it, and neither do the players. And it's a worry, because if you want to be one of the best teams in the league and you're expected to win a game and you bottle it consistently, it's a worry. You can't always be an underdog when you're Chelsea. This ain't 2012 Champions League. So the way we're trying to move forwards, I don't know. It's more with how we're playing, how we're losing them games was the concern for me. Because every team loses games, right? We've seen Villa smack Liverpool 7-1, was it? So
7-2.
7-2. So every team can lose games and even have blip performances like that. But it's just this just one way of playing from Frank, and he's just not changing it. And for the life of me, I don't know why. And it just seems like when something goes wrong in this Chelsea team, Frank's so slow to react to it. When Siak was out, when Reece was out, he just looks lost for ideas. And the fact that Reece started against Arsenal, I think it kind of shows you how dependent he is. And it shouldn't be the case, because he's such a young fullback, and you're that dependent on him to create for you. He shouldn't be the main creator if Siak is out. We just spent how much money on attackers, and you're benching Havertz. And I think that's another concern, because if Frank wants to play where we're crossing the ball into the box a lot, why did he sign Timo Werner? That's not Werner's game.
Spot on. Yeah.
I don't understand it. And when he is playing Werner out wide, people say, oh, he did it for Leipzig. Yeah, sure, but it's a totally different role. He played more of an inside forward, like Mohamed Salah does for Liverpool. He wasn't playing like an out-and-out winger, and that's how he's getting utilised at Chelsea. And we've seen it's just not working, but Frank just persists with it game after game. And then it makes me think, but why isn't Kai getting that chance then? Why are you just lumping him on the bench? Because out of the two, he's the one you want to... Actually, I don't know if that's right, but he's certainly a player you want to get game time and make him adapt. So, I don't know, it's just so many questions. So many questions for me right now.
No, 100%, man. I don't think I can disagree with any single point that you've raised. I've got the same sort of issues as well. For me, it's funny how you said that it all started from from the Everton game. For me, it was probably, I just looked at the Everton game thinking that's probably just an uncharacteristic loss. I just thought that, okay, 17-match unbeaten run. Obviously, you at that point probably looked at that 17-match unbeaten run and thought, like, a lot of these games are probably against teams that we really should be winning anyway. I was sort of thinking that, you know what, I'll let this one pass for the Everton one. It's from the Wolves game where I started thinking, well, what's going on? Because, as you said, it was the same sort of system, same sort of style. Nothing changes. And once again, what you said in terms of crossing and just simply hoping for an opportunity against, when you just throw in one striker across like 3 centre-backs or 2 centre-backs or whatever, sometimes even 4, it's very difficult to score in those situations. And yeah, the Arsenal one is where it just absolutely tipped off for me, 100%. And with all the stuff that you've said, if you're going to get Werner, why are you still crossing in? Why is Werner playing out of position? And, at the same time, you're then taking him off at first half against Arsenal because you felt that you're not getting enough from him. Well, you're playing him out of position. And the whole thing about Leipzig, how everyone sort of thinks, oh, he did it for Leipzig. He literally did it for about 5-6 games out of probably 40 games in a season for Leipzig, or in all competitions. He probably just did it for about 5 games. So to say that, oh, he's done it for Leipzig, it's totally misrepresented. But 100% understand what you're saying, man. I'm going to pass it on to Kunal for the next question to take this discussion further.
Cheers, Miss. I think you guys have both absolutely hit the nail on the head with that. Lampard is actually making it difficult for himself at this point. Also, if I can try and be a bit more lenient towards Lampard, then I can say that in hindsight, it could have been so much better. Like, Werner should have ideally been in contention for the Golden Boot if he just had his shooting boots on in most games. We missed some absolute howlers, man. And with them being scored, we could have been 6 or 7 points better off. You look at our midfield, Kovacic. On days he looks like the best player on the pitch, and one day he can't be asked to track back. Now I mention these things not to let Lampard off the hook. Believe me, boy, he's got some learning to do. But my point is to highlight the question: how much is it down to the players? Well, we all were shouting from the rooftops after the Leeds game, but ever since that, we have looked lethargic, complacent, and even downright boring. I don't know where the pundits are getting it from. The Chelsea play an attacking, beautiful style of football. I don't think it's attacking. It's beautiful. If anything, it's very predictable. Even the fans, we as fans are watching the game. We can see what the next pass is going to be. It's going to be Reece, and then we know it's a cross coming. So the opposition manager is not stupid. So after a while, he's certainly going to figure it out, and that seems to have happened. Now, ever since that, the players are letting him down or failing to execute is a question I think that needs to be brought to the surface to a certain extent. And this is exactly what I'm, willing to ask you, Conn. Do you think that players are also letting him down? They need to do more on their part.
No, for sure. Players do have to take some accountability there. They can't get let off the hook. Werner has missed some golden chances, and it doesn't matter if he's playing as a winger, as a centre back, wherever. You can't be missing those. It's not an excuse to be missing those. But at the same time, anyone who knew Werner at Leipzig knows he's that kind of player. Yeah. He's not the most clinical striker you'll ever find. He misses a lot of chances. I remember the Bayern game, Foundry, last season, and he missed more or less an open goal. It's just the player he is. So if you're signing Timo Werner to score that one chance you get in that game, he's not that guy. But also, a lot of this team's young, like Kai, Pulisic's still young, Tammy, etc., etc. So they're experienced, and having an inexperienced manager as well through a rough patch, I don't think really anyone knows what they're doing. And yes, Lampard has been a player and he's been through them dark moments, but it's different when you're on the other side. You can't be on that pitch and grab the game by the scruff of the neck yourself. You have to try to drill that and motivate that player to do that. And we're not seeing it. The only player really, or two I can say, that have kind of looked like that is Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi. But then again, if you've seen Chelsea, the same kind of pattern, centre-back to full-back to cross, that's obviously something that's been drilled into them. Yeah. So if you're expecting them to do something different, they'll be going against what Lampard's trying to get them to do, right?
Correct.
So they do have to take some accountability for sure. But when Kai Havertz is a lot of the time behind Kante in terms of heat map where he is for the game, when Timo Werner's on the wing, when Pulisic's playing out on the right, when we don't know what striker's going to be playing out front for the game, it's hard to get any sort of consistency, and it's very hard to blame the players. Like you mentioned Kovacic there, 1 minute he's in the team, 1 minute he's out. How can you get any sort of form going there? And then it's the same for Kai Havertz. He's in and out of the team. Granted, he had COVID and he needs to be nursed back. But he was brought in rather quickly, then dropped, and now he's sort of an impact player off the bench. And Giroud, he started after the Seville game for a few games, being dropped, Tammy had a go, and then last game we played Timo Werner up front. So it's very hard for the players to gain any sort of consistency when for one, there's quite a lot of new players in the side. So maybe they haven't got that chemistry yet. And two, it's not always the same lineup besides Mason Mount and the defence.
True. That's actually quite spot on, because it's interesting that you mentioned it, because only a few days back I raised this particular point on Twitter as well. Like, people all of a sudden are jumping on a bandwagon that Giroud, actually, you know what, Giroud is suffocating the system, or we play very one-dimensionally with him. And I raised a point that maybe it has something to do with the fact that he's been employed as a Peter Crouch tribute act, or as a Andy Carroll impersonator, because this is to a point you can say that yes, the players have not been doing the part exactly correctly, but we cannot tell what the part exactly they are asked to do. So in that sense, and at the end of the day, I think it's a team game. So one point of me also sees that there comes a time when you have to say that, wait a minute, I know Lampard is getting it wrong, doesn't automatically allow the players to follow suit as well. So on the subject of enough being enough, I believe Omea is the next question for us as well.
Yeah, I just want to jump in just for 2 seconds there. I think the viewers that are going to watch this later on, I want you guys to really, really listen to what Conn said, in the sense of we've got inexperienced players in our team. We've got players that are very young, and combine that with a manager that is learning on the job. I think that in itself is a bit of a mess that is about to happen, and that's exactly what we're seeing now. So I think this is another concerning reason that when a manager is learning on the job, how's he also going to then spend the time to develop other players as well? Amir, off to you, man.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, but we probably expected it ever since he was announced, right? And I think that's one of the issues of taking a punt on an inexperienced manager. So I think that, moving on then to the next question, which I have got, is that I think until the Everton game where we lost, I think the only game which we lost in 90 minutes was at home to Liverpool. I think, if I'm not wrong, I don't think we lost any other game. So I think... But since then, we've lost Everton away, we've lost Wolves away, we've lost Arsenal away, and most recently, of course, we lost at home to Manchester City, who we have beaten in the past 2 seasons at home in the Premier League, if I'm not wrong, under Lampard, as well as Sarri before that. So I think the question that I would like to ask you, Conn, is, when is it enough, right? I mean, how many losses does it have to pile up for people to finally start realizing that maybe Lampard isn't the manager that we thought he was, and maybe it's not all, like Kunal started off he's like he mentioned before we actually started this, it's not all rainbows and ponies just because you get a club legend back.
It's not all vibes, man.
Well, to be honest, I think he could possibly get fired before people realise that he's not the guy, to be honest, because us fans were sentimental, right? Frank Lampard's like club hero, club legend, arguably the best players ever played for Chelsea, right? Roman Abramovich obviously has a bit more respect for Lampard because who he is, but he's not going to mess around. And when he feels like the project is not going to plan, he will, as Eunice says, bite the bullet. And it's sad to say, but you can't be doing this bad with this squad. And I think a lot of people believe Chelsea squad isn't as good as it is because how we've been playing and how players are utilised. But our squad is actually very good. It competes with most in Europe, if we're being honest here.
Yeah.
But it's just made to look a lot worse than it is. And what really worries me is apparently Werner and Havertz were Lampard signings, but he's really struggling to get them going in the league.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, people saying like we need Declan Rice is the last piece of the puzzle.
I tweeted that as a joke this morning.
Maybe he is right, but he has to be doing better with this squad.
Yeah.
Even if we grind out a draw against Everton or a draw against Wolves, or we shithouse a win against Everton. Like, I know in certain games players have made mistakes, right? But we haven't looked like scoring goals.
Yeah.
You don't win unless you score. And Everton, we didn't score. Wolves, we scored one. So Arsenal, we scored one. And that was right near the end of the game where I think, Arsenal already had it in the bag. And same with City.
Yeah.
So it's a big worry. And people don't want to say it because it's Frank. And we all love him. But you really have to ask yourself. You look at Jurgen Klopp's, your Pep Guardiola's, and you have to ask, can Frank get to that level in 2 years' time? Because in 2 years' time, he needs to be winning the Premier League, Lampard.
Yeah.
He needs to be at least getting to semi-finals of Champions League consistently from then on. And
especially with this team, Con. Especially with this team.
And the thing is, Miss, is a lot of reports say that we're not finished spending yet. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Which is it's honestly crazy to think about. So the ambition from the club's honestly there, but this project is, I don't know. I just think Lampard's in it way too early, in my opinion, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think, if anything, he's going to leave the club in such a better place than any other manager in the last 10 years has, really. Let's be honest.
Yeah, most definitely. I think, I was just going to add that that's a really good point, actually. I think that all the players that we signed in the summer actually mentioned that Lampard was a key factor in them coming here. So I think that and he signed players that can do well for a continued period of time, and not just they're not just like system players which we signed under Conte, for example, Alonso, or under Sarri, like Jorginho, right? They're not just system players; they're players that can fall into different systems, right, and that can do the job under many different managers. And he's got such players at the club, and we continue to be linked with Donnarumma, we continue to be linked with Haaland, we continue to be linked with Declan Rice, right? And if Lampard can get all of them at the club, then I think that's just a massive boost in itself.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And just to go back on your question there, I think fans will realise that maybe Lamps isn't the guy when they remove the sentiment. I think that's the only thing keeping people in right now, if we're being completely honest, because I've been on Twitter for like 4.5 years now, right? And I've seen it under Mourinho, I've seen it under Conte, and I've seen it under Sarri. And I've never seen a fan like this fan base wanting the manager out more than now, if I'm being honest. And the ones who don't want him out, I believe, it's blind faith and sentiment.
Well, I mean, just to take a quick walk about the inexperienced managers, if you will, I think we could take a look at Mikel Arteta as well, who had no experience before managing Arsenal, at least, head coach experience. He was, of course, Pep Guardiola's assistant, but he was never any head coach before taking up the Arsenal job. And I think Arsenal were in a terrible spot, right? But then I think we kickstarted their season, as we always do. But then I think that ever since that, I think they've won 3 games on the bounce now. They even beat West Brom 4-0 recently, which was a very impressive victory. And I think they played very well. And I think it's mainly down to the fact that Arteta dropped so many of those, experienced players, which are generally supposed to be performing well, but he's just dropped them entirely, right? He's starting Saka every game. He's starting Emile Smith-Rowe every game. And then I think even against us, he dropped Aubameyang, who's arguably they've been the best player for like a couple of years now. So I think that and we've seen quite a turn in their fortune. So do you think that Lampard can still turn this around, or are you hell-bent on the fact that the project is no more in place?
See, the thing is, with the comparison to Arteta there, I feel like he's been given the time because do you think Kroenke really cares if they finish outside Champions League spots? Do you think he generally cares if they finish outside Europa League spots?
Yeah.
I believe Arsenal could finish 8th this season and they could finish 8th next season and Arteta would still be in that job.
Yeah.
At Chelsea, it's totally different. If you see what Roman's building, he wants to win the Premier League in the next season or so.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Lampard isn't going to get the time if we don't beat Fulham and Leicester. I feel Lampard's gone and he's not going to even get that time regardless of what we want or how we feel, because that ambition in the club's too high. And if Champions League looks in jeopardy for next season, I think he's gone.
Yeah,
personally.
Absolutely. And I think just to add to that as well, Con, I've been thinking about, because I see a lot of this now in Twitter where they say, oh, but Arteta got the time. We should stay patient. Look, yeah, fine, stay patient. I have no issues with that. But I think comparing it with Arteta is a bit naive in the sense that Arteta didn't get to spend $250 million pounds. Whereas Frank was able to get $250 million Great British pounds to invest in this particular club. And as an investor, just imagine, boys, even if you were to invest $1,000 anywhere, you'd be wondering how your $1,000 is doing, or what the performance is like. Roman's just put in $250 million into this project. He's got every right to make sure that we're not in the form that we're in right now. I mean, as Conn said perfectly in the beginning, that no one expects us to win every game. You're okay to even lose probably 2 in a row. But the kind of dip that we're having right now, that's not acceptable. For a club like Chelsea, that is simply not acceptable. You got to snap out of it very quick. We should have snapped out of it after the after the Everton game. But since we didn't do that, we 100% should have snapped out of it after the Wolves loss. But it just hasn't gone our way, and it's totally different to what Arsenal's going through, as Conn said. But yeah, Amir, off to you, man.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, right? I think Arteta's probably in his entire career at Arsenal, he's not going to be able to spend £250 million because, as Conn mentioned, I don't think Kroenke actually gives a damn, right? All he cares about is his NFL franchise. So I think that's a fair point. I think I'll swiftly move things on to Kunal next, probably. I think who can talk about player improvement. That's another interesting topic.
Yeah, because obviously you guys have raised some excellent point, and I have to agree with pretty much all of it. You know what the saddest thing is? In my quest for a fairy tale story, I was too stubborn to even entertain the thought that maybe might not be the guy. I wanted it to work so bad that I pretty much expected it. But I guess it is what it is, right? Now they say that a hallmark of a great coach is his ability to groom a player. An A+ manager, even with little backing, can still get his side to work by improving the quality from within the squad. Can you confidently point out any players that have truly progressed under Frank Lampard? Similarly, are we seeing players that have massively dipped under this regime? We can't look at this season signing to determine that, I guess. But from the beginning of last season, do you see some players take giant strides? I mean, we saw the emergence of Reece James, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount, Tammy, and Tomori. They all got that game time, more or less. And we have seen the likes of Rudiger, Alonso, Espilicueta being phased out slowly. So, which players have truly improved or got worse, in your opinion, since August 2019?
I suppose the players that have regressed or even improved. Let's go with the ones that have improved. 100%. Since Frank has taken over, the ones that have improved, I'd say number one has to be Reece James. Reece James's improvement has been absolutely immaculate from last season to this season, to the point that where we've sort of deemed him as probably the number one right back at one stage, obviously just before he got injured. His defensive side of game has immensely improved, and obviously attacking wise, he already showed that last season, but this season he's taken to a different level, chipping in with a lot of assists and goals. The other player would be Tammy. Tammy definitely has improved since the last season. His hold-up play has definitely improved. His link-up has gotten better. Obviously, his goal contributions undoubtedly really, really good this season. The one thing that he should be getting much more improvement is headers. For someone who's 6'4", I think, in terms of height, he needs to improve his heading ability. So that's one thing that Frank probably hasn't got the best out of him, especially when we cross a lot now. Where we cross and go for the heading opportunities. This is not one a particular side where Tammy hasn't improved. And Mason Mount definitely has improved immensely. I mean, at the end of the day, how can he not improve? One, he plays a lot, and two, he wants to emulate his game like Frank Lampard. So, at the end of the day, if he didn't improve, it'd be a massive shock to all of us. So he's definitely improved massively since the time he's played in the Championship till last season to this season. The players that have really, really probably gone backwards is our newbies. Werner looks shadow of a player that he used to be from last season. He's missed some absolute sitters. His confidence is shot. That's partly, I think, it's because of playing him out of position. I don't think he likes to be played predominantly on the left wing. Generally plays either sort of inside forward, for Leipzig last season, or more centrally. And the other player is Kai Havertz. Once again, I don't think Frank has figured out exactly what the best position is for Kai Havertz. We sort of thought that number 10, and he does look more comfortable in number 10, but then he's been shafted to be in the right centre mid position where bits and pieces where he's looked good. Obviously, then he had the illness which hampered him, but since then he's been sort of been put in the bench, and last I think 3 games he's been playing off the bench. So he's probably another player that is absolutely down on confidence now, and he's another player that probably Frank hasn't got the best out of him as yet. So for me, and Kovacic lastly as well, a player that was player of the season last season, to a player that, especially against Man City, that was a really poor performance. And he's had some of these poor performances throughout this season. Yes, he's had glimpses of really good performances as well, but he got shafted against Arsenal half-time.
Yeah.
So this is another player that has regressed. So yeah, that's a little bit about who's improved, who's regressed. Athletic has obviously come up with the article straight off the bat against Man City. As soon as it's like they had it in draft for the last couple of days. They knew they were going to write this up. As soon as the full-time whistle went, they just pressed that enter button, and the article was up. And the article was talking about how, you know, Chelsea's now in the market to look around for a manager if things don't change very drastically. As you said, you know, if we don't get a win against Fulham and Leicester and probably even Wolves, the next 3 Premier League games, I think it's probably lights out. So having said that, Con, if it is lights out, who do you go for? I mean, it's such a tricky situation at the moment. Who is it that you would go for now?
So there's a few I'd probably go for, and this actually really does hurt me say, because just thinking Lampard to get fired, it hurts. But Thomas Tuchel is someone who I love. I know he's people got loads of opinions on him, but he's got a great track record with young players. He is a the way he plays, I like. A very brave team he plays with, very strict, very tactic orientated. Another one who could be in the mix would be Allegri. Obviously, another person who's very mixed. Some people hate him, some people love him, but he's someone who could definitely bring a bit of stability to Chelsea. I would worry for Kai more than anyone if Allegri came, because but like of the Bala, I don't think he was utilised properly by Allegri. But there would be the two I would think who are available right now. Nagelsmann obviously is one, but I'd honestly, if we was going to get rid of Lampard this season before it finishes, I wouldn't see the point of Nagelsmann. He's a manager that needs to come in at the end of the season. So if the club are hell bent on getting Nagelsmann, I know it could end ugly, but it would probably be better just to give Lampard the end of the season to finish, because I don't think Nagelsmann's a guy to come in mid-season.
Well, I don't think Nagelsmann can either. I think he's already mentioned that he's going to finish the season with Leipzig and he's going to leave after that. Just a quick question on Tuchel. There's quite a few people that are not really fond of Tuchel, in the sense that he apparently goes head on with the hierarchies and he doesn't really care. He says it how it is. A lot of people are a bit weary about that kind of attitude. It kind of gives them sort of Conte vibes where, you know, if you're going to go against the hierarchies and say exactly what's in your mind, there's only one winner, which is the hierarchy. So, what's your thoughts about that? You think this guy can actually come in and work with our board, or just create a lot of chaos?
It could go either way. I ain't gonna lie. Out of all the things about Tuchel, I think that's the biggest issue I would have, is what could potentially go on with the board. But one thing Roman really wants to incorporate in Chelsea is bringing the youth through, and at Chelsea I feel like he will be backed. Because he's got experience in the Bundesliga, Werner, Havertz, Pulisic, obviously that's what my main attraction is with the Pulisic connection there. I feel like the board would really see him as a good option, because even though he's fairly young, he's won stuff. PSG's highest win rate for any manager, and I think he ticks all the boxes besides maybe his personality, but I think we could get around that.
No, you're right, man. I mean, at the end of the day, he's managed the likes of Mbappe, Neymar, and all the other superstars that PSG has had, and then obviously in Dortmund as well, he's very, very successful, and obviously the links with Pulisic. And, I'm pretty sure, obviously with the German background, that'd be a plus point for Werner and Kai Havertz as well. So, a lot of experience, a hell of a lot of experience within him. But I don't know, just some final thoughts from all of you guys, I suppose. I feel like Frank will get till the end of the season. I just don't know. I mean, unless he absolutely bottles it against Fulham as well. Your thoughts, boys? Just a quick one-line answer. I'll go to Amir first. Do you think Frank will get probably till the end of the season, or not really?
I think he's definitely going to stay until the end of the season. I think But the only way it could probably get ugly is if he finishes outside the top 6. I think that is going to be a real concern. Outside the top 4 as well, I don't think his job is secure. But I think until top 4 is completely out of reach, right? I think we're still well within reach of top 4. We're probably just 3 points off, I think, if I'm not wrong, although they have a game in hand. I think we're just 3 points off top 4. So I think in this tricky season, it's really hard to predict how the table's going to look like at the end of the season. But if he finishes in the top 4, I think that he could have his job secure even for next season, if I'm being bold.
Fair enough. Kunal, I'll go to Conn lastly. Kunal, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I just like to say that I'm in all sorts here. I think that it's somewhat too harsh on Lampard at this point to keep him in the firing line, to be honest with you. There should be no shame in arguing that he doesn't look capable enough to make it right. I'm not saying this out of hatred, but out of respect and my admiration for the guy. I don't want him to go right now, but the board might have already started to make moves, so it doesn't matter in the end. So, considering that we will be going for a new manager, I want someone that can use the system these players are meant for. So, guys like Allegri are not particularly my cup of tea. Tuchel has a history, which is something that I don't want. If the last thing we ever want is a treacherous relationship between the manager and the board, because this is the only thing we have going on for us. So my preference would be based on someone who plays an exciting brand of football, is ready to bed in the youngsters, and has the potential to be the next big thing, if you know what I mean. So I want the likes of Nagelsmann, Eric Ten Hag from Ajax, or even, Hasan Hutel for that matter. I absolutely rate the guy. I'm an absolute fan of the guy. So in the end, I just like to say that he might be gone, he might be not. But the supposed fans who are baying for Lampard's blood or hurling abuse at him need a long, hard look at themselves. Yes, the task might ultimately be too big for him, but Frank Lampard is Chelsea, and nothing changes that. If he goes with his head held high.
No, for sure, man. I think the other name that I wanted to throw in there would be Pochettino, but he's already gone to PSG. For me, that would have been a perfect case scenario. But Conn, last words to you, my man. Do you think Frank is most likely gone, or perhaps till the end of the season?
So I'm going to keep this short and sweet and say if we lose or don't win both of our next PL games, I think Frank's gone. But I think if he wins both of them, I think he gets to the end of the season. Personally, I want him to win the next 2 games and then go on a massive run at the end of the season and, prove all of us wrong, saying but I just don't see it happening. And we know what Roman's like. We're sentimental. He's not. It's a results business at the end of the day. And if the results don't come, we can't keep saying this is a must-win game forever.
No, absolutely, Conn, man. Yeah, I keep thinking, it really got me thinking today that if I was Roman and I dished out that much money, I think sentiment, I don't think this guy was ever sentiment. Sentiment was out of the door. I was out of the door a long time ago with this guy, because that's why we've seen so many managers go and come and go. But he got success out of it as well. I think for this guy, it's more important to get success than be sentimental. And as a fan, I suppose we can understand that. But yeah, Conn, thank you so much for your time, my man. I think we've got a lot of key information today. Everyone will get to hear this sometime tomorrow. We'll get this all nice and edited up. And throughout the whole day tomorrow, we'll publish, little snippets here and there of all the little bits and pieces that you've said, Conn. And obviously this will be in the other side of the coins channel, which hopefully everyone enjoys. And at the end of all of this, hope everyone can appreciate Conn a lot more than what he's been getting in recent times. And I just hope that people are a little bit more nicer with some of these tweets. Just before I go, Conn, some final messages to anyone, or whatever you're up to.
I would just like to thank the 3 of you for having me on. I'm always down to talk Chelsea with anyone, and obviously it's my passion. I love doing it. So it's been really fun, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely, man. You're definitely going to be on. And Amir and Kunal, thank you, my man, for joining. We're going to be back again and with another guest sometime next week. But yeah, guys, until next time, see ya.